Stephen, in which products and industries is nickel used?
The primary use of nickel is in stainless steel. That accounts for some 60% of nickel use. That material itself is used for thousands of different applications worldwide in the chemical processing industry, food processing. Every McDonald's you'll see stainless steel, nickel-containing stainless steel used, in transport industry, and in such icons as architecture. Some of the tallest buildings in the world are made using stainless steel. Both for its physical properties and its aesthetic values. So it's a material that we see every day, but people and ourselves are not always aware that we're using nickel and nickel-containing materials. Some of the other applications are in the high alloy industry. Such alloys are used in gas turbines, jet engines, which allow them to be more fuel efficient. And similarly, it's used in the chemical industry, in particular for batteries in things such as hybrid vehicles. They're the enabling power source for those vehicles to operate at the efficiency and lower carbon emissions that they do.
What's nickel's role in developing a more sustainable society?
Nickel plays a key role in the future of a sustainable society. Nickel is a material of innovation. Some 7% of patents in the US involve nickel, and those are the applications that go forward into a whole range of uses which will make society more sustainable for the long run. This is in everything from the alloys that go into nuclear power plants, which of course have no CO2 emissions in use, through to alloys that are used in every wind turbine. Every big wind turbine has half a ton of nickel in it, in the alloys that allow it to operate at low temperatures. It's also used in things such as I mentioned, hybrid vehicles and the batteries for those, essential part of fuel cell technology. So as you see, it's one of those enabling materials that enables a whole range of technologies which will allow society in the future to have lower CO2 emissions. It also contributes hugely because of the long life of its material in use. It has durability to stainless steel. It allows it to be fabricated in easier forms and in shapes that otherwise materials would struggle to make.
Is the nickel industry an emitter of greenhouse gases?
Yes, nickel, like most raw materials, does require energy to extract it from the earth. I mean, nickel is the 7th most abundant element on the planet. And it's present in all soil environments, and extracting it takes energy. But nickel, in fact, of the 1.4 million tons of nickel, primary nickel, that's used every year, contributes a relatively low part of greenhouse gas emissions. It's less than 0.01% of CO2 emissions worldwide, and yet at the same time it enables structures and materials to last for many, many years. So it enables us to have materials and uses of materials that last effectively forever if we wish them to, and it's recyclable on a continuous basis. Recycled stainless steel is no different from the raw material, and that's how it contributes very much so to enabling us to have a society that's sustainable for the long term.
How does nickel enable other industries to reduce their emissions to the atmosphere?
Nickel plays a huge role in enabling other industries and uses to have lower emissions. For example, use of nickel in buildings, in architecture, allows buildings to be made in forms and shapes that otherwise would not possible with many other materials, and they last for longer. For example, one of the things we participate in is a project in Japan for a house for 200 years, which is designed that the building and all the materials there will be in use in 200 years' time, exactly in the same state as they are today. And many other materials during their lifetime will decay, etc. Nickel and nickel-containing materials have properties that allow them to be used in those long-term service uses.
So what's so important about nickel in today's economy, and how does it affect the environment?
Nickel's role in the economy in Europe, for example, nickel adds some 800 billion euros of value every year from its use. That use is, as I mentioned, stainless steel, but it goes all the way through to efficient gas turbines, jet engines, which allows the aircraft industry to operate at the very high fuel efficiencies that it does today, which contributes to reducing the greenhouse gas emissions of the aircraft industry. It contributes into the economy directly through its uses, but also indirectly because of the role that nickel plays in enabling new technologies such as fuel cells, which is generating a whole new industry to appear. And it's the part that it plays in enabling those technologies and new solutions to our current challenges to emerge.
How much nickel gets recycled?
100% of nickel and stainless steel is available for recycling at the end of its life. If you look at stainless steel today, it contains some 60% of the material in there is recycled content. And you need to look at that in the context that this material was being used maybe 30, 40 years ago is what's being recycled today. Pieces of equipment are replaced not generally because they're worn out, but because the useful life of those use has changed. So it's looking at that, it's looking at it on a full life cycle basis, taking into account that recycling, but needing to look at the basis that the material that we're using today, 60% is recycled, and it's coming from material that was used 40 years ago or produced 40 or even 60, 70 years ago. The Chrysler Building, which is one of the first iconic stainless steel buildings ever to be built in New York, is still standing and is still there. And I'm sure other iconic such buildings as the Petronas Towers in Malaysia will still be standing in another 70 or 80 years' time.
What are the world's nickel producers doing to reduce the impacts of their activities on the Earth's climate?
Nickel, as I mentioned, is energy intensive to extract, and the industry has worked for many years to continuously reduce and improve the efficiency of the extraction processes. I mean, the industry has been there for just over 100 years, and it's working hard to continuously reduce its emissions to the atmosphere and to the environment of other factors. This is being done through obviously energy saving. Energy is a key part of costs, so driving down costs is as much a part as driving energy consumption down. Innovation with new technologies, new projects for nickel, such as those being built currently in Australia and New Caledonia, cost billions of dollars, and everything is done to reduce to greatest possible extent with the new technologies CO2 emissions to levels below that which have been achieved with previous technologies. And the industry is continuously striving to invest in new technologies which will reduce energy consumption both today and for the long term, and hence carbon dioxide emissions.
And finally, what does it mean to be a member of the Nickel Institute?
The Nickel Institute represents something like 90% of world nickel production. Our members comprise companies ranging from those in Russia, Brazil, Canada, Australia, Japan, and those member companies are all committed to basically three activities with the Nickel Institute. One is developing and ensuring the health and science around the health and environmental science of nickel is well understood and represented proportionately and appropriately. Looking at how we can stimulate and develop the future markets for the material in its appropriate use. And thirdly, working with regulators to ensure that the reputation of the industry is recognised and that nickel is seen as contributing to the future of society and making a positive contribution.